Today, I want to take a look at a price analysis for FOFAR on Ethereum. This is the FOFAR project ending with smart contract 0x420. So if you're a FOFAR holder, you'll appreciate this analysis. And if you're new, welcome. I've got plenty of links below in the video description to help you get caught up with this amazing project. I am the Gaussian Snake. This is Crypto Simulation Theory. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Comment down below if you have anything you'd like to add. Please join our FOFAR Telegram and my Telegram, the Snake Pit. Links are all in the video description below. So I'd like to start by taking a look at DexTools, which can kind of give us a nice overview of what's been going on with FOFAR. And then I'm going to switch over to TradingView to do a more detailed analysis. So, I mean, just one look at the chart and you can kind of see that things have been flattening out, suggesting some kind of bottoming process has been going on. Let's just quickly go over here and take a look at our current stats. So our current market cap as of today, and keep in mind, this is about 9 hours before rate cuts by the Federal Reserve Bank. So probably one of the most important days in years for the market. So I anticipate some volatility coming. $1.7 million market cap, $250,000 liquidity. So we are still a micro cap project. 3,240 holders. So our holder count has remained relatively steady. So that is good. And if we look at our top holders, you can see that this really hasn't changed much. We only have two holders above 2%, and then the rest are below 1.54% or below, which is really, really healthy. You have 78% of the other holders pretty much taking up the piece of the hugest piece of the pie, right? And then the Uniswap exchange has 7.27%. This is a really good metric to look at. All right, so I'm going to switch over to TradingView so we can do a more in-depth analysis. This will be mostly technical analysis. So I'll be looking at charts and making sort of forecasts and recommendations, not financial advice, just looking at the chart, general recommendations, and maybe just kind of an idea of what's going on with our chart. So let's go ahead and migrate over that. Okay, so I believe that the 3-day time frame is a time frame we can start looking at. This asset is over 5 months old at this point. So I feel like we have enough data to look at a 3-day time frame and make some conclusions. I think the weekly time frame also could work, but I like the 3-day because of all the touch points. And so what do you notice is happening right now ever since August 4th is we have been in this bottoming zone, right? We've just nicely been tapping this red zone, this bottoming zone, which corresponds to FOFAR prices between 0.00002 and 0.00000 3, 4-ish, 3, 3, somewhere around there. That's a lot of zeros, right? And so I think right now FOFAR is very likely in the process of bottoming. Okay. I drew this green zone up here to kind of indicate where I would anticipate we could have a turnaround, but this is kind of where we're at now. We're bottoming. This originally looked a little bit like a bear flag, but then it kind of came back up again. So, to me right now, it just looks like a bottoming process is taking place. We should look at some more indicators to get a better idea of what's going on with the chart, but I just kind of so I threw a weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band, which unfortunately we can only start getting data from May. That's still, fairly good amount of time for a chart this for a crypto with this small market cap. We have to keep in mind that with such a small market cap and a relatively low number of holders compared to like a large cap or to like Bitcoin or something like that, we should know that price is likely to be more volatile in both directions. So we can see that we've been in a pretty clear bear market for a while, but something kind of happened on August 19th. We got above this moving average right here. And this moving average is a 60-day moving average. So it's of some significance. And look at, we tested it, we held, we tested it again, we held. Now where we have been struggling is getting above the median line of the Bollinger Band, but notice that it's starting to flatten out and it looks like it's kind of approaching this tightening process, which is generally a good thing. You want to see stuff like that. That's going to indicate that a more volatile move can eventually take place, ideally to the upside. So that's something I just kind of wanted to point out. I'm really happy to see FOFAR above its 60-day moving average, and I'm hoping that it can stay above there. I don't know if it will, but this is at least a good sign on this higher time frame. So this red and green band is the Gunnar EMA bull market and bull market support band, bear market resistance band. It's a bull market support band when the green is above the red. It's a bear market resistance band when the red is above the green. And unfortunately, on a 3-day time frame, we are very much in a bear market with FOFAR. However, for the first time since printing a bearish cross on August 1st, so we're talking a month and a half, we have been testing the lower boundary of the bear market resistance band. And in fact, this long red thing here, I'm sorry, this long series of blue dots, this is known as a parabolic stop and release, or SAR. And when you see it above like this indicates you're in a downtrend. When you see it below, that's an uptrend. We printed our very first SAR uptrend dot for the 3-day time frame on September 9th, and we are currently printing our fourth. So that's impressive, considering how long of a downtrend we've endured here. This has been absolutely brutal. We're also seeing the bear market support band start to flatten out a little bit. So that's kind of a good sign, indicating that the downward volatility probably doesn't have a lot of oomph left in it. If you Okay, ADX and DI indicator. So you're going to be learning a lot of technical analysis from me. I use a lot of indicators. So this green curve is the bull curve. The red curve is the bear curve. And generally what you want to see is green pulling away or diverging away from red with green above red. That indicates that the bulls are winning. When red is above green or red is going towards green, that indicates the bears are winning. Now, notice that there was only a very brief time in FOFAR's entire history in early September where the bears were in control. Other than that, right now it's pretty darn neutral. The white curve is the ADX, or the average directional index. This indicates a trend strength. And you can see we peaked out in early May around 93, which is very, very strong. Generally, you don't stay at these levels for long. And our trend has just been decaying and decaying and decaying. And now we're at a trend, we've got to a trend strength of barely like 4 or whatever. So this is an accumulation range strength. This means that moves in this, when you have a trend strength like this means your asset is just generally not moving, right? There's really not a lot of buys, and there's also not a lot of sells. Fortunately, the green is still above the red. That could change at any moment, but this is generally what we think of as an accumulation range. So what we'd like to see is we'd like to see some more accumulation. And as we get into maybe, the end of September and October, we want to see this ADX start to turn up with the green above the red. I don't mind if red gets above the green temporarily and we chop around a little bit. That's normal, healthy behavior in an accumulation range. But what I don't want to see is the red start to take off and get above the green. That is not a good sign, especially with the turn up in trend strength. So for now, this just looks very neutral. We can't really say much one way or the other. So similar to the ADX and DI is this indicator called the ASO, or average sentiment oscillator. The idea is the same. When the green is heading away from the red, that's bullish. And the higher up it goes, the more bullish that is. Generally getting to 80 is about as high as you're going to get with this indicator. And then when the green is moving towards the red and the red is moving towards the green, that's bearish. And when red gets above the green, that's even more bearish. And you can see that for the longest time, and this is so sad, but we were putting in like, I don't really know how you want to draw this trend line. You could draw it like this, I guess, but we were basically putting in higher highs of bearishness. That trend finally changed. Okay, it finally changed. And I'm hopeful that we can print our genuine first lower low, okay, with red. This would suggest to me that this giant bear market trend, could be coming to an end relatively soon, by the end of this month or maybe early mid-October at the latest. And even potentially sooner than that, because anytime this goes down, that means bullishness, right? That means we're heading up. So I am happy to see that potentially we are printing a lower low on the bearishness of the ASO. So that is certainly you can see how this asset just simply is not moving with the unbalanced volume. It is just flat. So again, we don't have a lot of new holders coming in. We don't have a lot of people leaving either. It's at a standstill. You saw that with the ADX and DI. You're seeing it with the OBV. So it's just confirming that we are in an accumulation. Now, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but this is the Trix bubble. And this is a collection of shorter term moving averages. Okay, so if you want to know what moving averages we're looking at here, this is going, you could just double click on it, right? And it will tell you, give you a key. You have the 5, 7, 9, 11, and 14. Okay, so this is all in terms of 3 days. So you just multiply those by 3 days. What we finally saw back on August 19th was the formation of a bullish divergence. And notice how all these moving averages are starting to turn up right now. Now it's possible we go back down, and put in a higher low, which would be fine. It's fine if we go down and we put in a higher low. I'd like to see this metric cross the 0 line. And I think there's a very good chance that it's already bottomed. I think the bottom could have occurred on August 19th in that realm for these shorter term moving averages, right? And yeah, we'll have to see what happens as this kind of comes back up. But the tricks bubble is definitely telling us that things are starting to turn around in a more bullish way. This is the money flow index oscillator volume profile. And what I'm looking for here potentially is an inverse head and shoulders. So if price gets a little bit of a bump up, we could see an inverse head and shoulders form here where this is the head, this is the shoulder, this is the shoulder when we have a neckline here. And that could bring us a little bit higher up. So this red line represents oversold. This represents the green line overbought. And so, I mean, we haven't been overbought since May. We've just been trending down, 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 right? With little bounces here and there. So is this going to go further down? It could. I honestly, you can't really tell much from this other than it's been putting in like pretty much nonstop lower highs. Okay. So FOFAR has been doing more selling than buying. That's generally what the trend is suggesting here. But you know that these things only go on generally for so long. And if Bitcoin gets bullish in Q4, I anticipate that this metric will turn around. And speaking of Bitcoin, one thing I'd really like to look at, I'm going to switch to a lower time frame for this, is how correlated is FOFAR's price movement with Bitcoin's? I'm on the daily time frame now. Very correlated, very highly correlated. Notice that throughout most of 2024, once FOFAR turned bearish at least, like around June especially, this is where we saw that Bitcoin wasn't doing very well and FOFAR wasn't doing well either. So for the most part, FOFAR has kept pace with whatever Bitcoin's been doing. Now, for the first time in a long time, since like early September, we're seeing lower highs on the correlation. So if you are in this region from 0 to 1, generally the closer you get to 1, the stronger the correlation is, meaning that at 1, if Bitcoin moves up, FOFAR definitely moves up. Where we're at right now at like 0.76, this would mean that when FOFAR moves up, or when Bitcoin moves up, FOFAR is very, very likely to also move up, but it might not do that, right? If you're down here like we were in late April, this would mean that if FOFAR is moving up, or if Bitcoin is moving up, FOFAR is most likely moving down. If Bitcoin is moving up, FOFAR is most likely moving down. We haven't had very many times like this. In fact, what we've seen is as this asset has matured, that FOFAR's correlation with Bitcoin has generally increased, which is a good thing because that reflects a very natural market behavior for FOFAR. And that's actually a great way to assess the health of this asset. Another thing I'd like to look at is how is FOFAR performing against Bitcoin? We know that Bitcoin dominance as of today is like almost around 58.5%. And all Bitcoin pairs are in general not doing that well. So how well is FOFAR holding up against Bitcoin? Because we know most projects. Well, unsurprisingly, this is on an 18-hour time frame. I can't get a one-day time frame just yet. We don't have enough data. But for a while, I couldn't even get a 12 or an 18-hour. So now I can get an 18-hour time frame. When you see this going up and in the green, that means that FOFAR is outperforming Bitcoin. And we can see that FOFAR massively outperformed Bitcoin from early May all the way to late May. And then it did so again in June. It did so again very briefly. So FOFAR had a bull market against Bitcoin, and then it just had a bear market, right? It went into a bear market against Bitcoin. Had a little brief bounce in July. It didn't really mean a whole lot, and it had another brief bounce recently too. But what I am starting to notice is FOFAR is putting in higher lows on its RSI against Bitcoin. This is a very good thing. Even if this turns around again and goes the other way, this is good. This means that FOFAR, while it has been underperforming Bitcoin most of the time in Q3, it is starting to gain some relative strength. We did have some green days here, and these are almost days, right? So 18 divided by 24 of a day, whatever that is, okay? So like roughly, what is that? 18 over 24 is 3/4. So 3/4 of a day. That's what this is being measured on. So, this is a pretty promising sign to see that FOFAR is starting to hold its ground against Bitcoin. I anticipate that in 2025, this thing will be green most of the time. It's just unfortunate because Bitcoin dominance has been so high. It's been just a difficult challenge for the altcoin market. Okay, and speaking of metrics, I want to share some metrics with you to give you sort of an idea of what FOFAR is facing. So FOFAR being a meme coin, which by the way, I don't know if you noticed on DexTools, but it is not just a meme coin. We're also an NFT and GameFi project, all three categories now, which is really impressive. So I just wanted to mention that if I forgot to say that earlier. So these are social metrics because FOFAR being an altcoin is driven by retail investment. Okay, so you're not going to see institutions like BlackRock or JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or foreign governments load up on FOFAR. Okay, we would love to think that maybe someday, but that day is not today and likely not anytime soon. Right? FOFAR is a people's coin. It's a community coin. So FOFAR is going to respond very well when retail starts coming into the space looking for meme coins. Okay. As you can see right now, looking at all of these different metrics, where do you notice we're at? We're bottoming out, or like new weekly Twitter followers of crypto exchanges has actually been in the negative this week. New weekly followers of layer one accounts in the negative. New weekly Twitter followers of data and research services, now that's been up, but that's not going to affect FOFAR. New weekly Twitter followers of popular services, that's been down. New weekly followers of layer twos, that's down. Views of Bitcoin's Wikipedia page at historic lows. Again, down, down, down. Everything's down. New weekly YouTube subscribers of influencers. This has actually been up this week. So that is something that's a little bit shocking, but the trend still remains down, right? Weekly YouTube views of influencers' videos has been slightly up, but overall the trend has still been down. Tweet volume has been relatively flat. New weekly crypto subreddit subscribers has been down. So we see a lot of mixed data, but we can still pretty much tell that retail is still not quite here yet. Like you are retail, right? But I'm talking about new investors coming into the space. Most people are still tuned out, and that does adversely affect projects like FOFA. Okay, now this is a chart of others dominance, which represents crypto total market cap, excluding the top 10 altcoins. So that's kind of where FOFAR finds itself in that general category. And you can see that altcoin dominance has held this yellow trend line ever since blasting through it in February of 2017. So this is a trend line that has held up very well every time it's been approached and is doing so again. We've got a red Gaussian channel that is concave up now, which is a good sign. So even though we have a bearish cross on the Gunnar EMA and we do have a bear market resistance band, I think there's a fairly decent chance that this was the low for others dominance. Now it could come down and test it in a double bottom, but I don't really think that we're going to get beneath this yellow trend line in a material way. Like we could come down briefly, but I don't see this going too much lower than where we're at now. So once this turns around and finally kind of like says, yeah, this is my bottom, I feel like we're going to see a change in trend take place with altcoin dominance starting to rise as Bitcoin dominance falls, and that will have a beneficial effect on FOFAR. Okay, very, very likely that it will. The other thing that we need to look at is also Ethereum, not Ethereum USD, but Ethereum Bitcoin. One of the things to understand about our project is that FOFAR is denominated in Ethereum. It's not denominated in USD. So it is important to track the performance of FOFAR against Ethereum, not only ETH USD, but also ETH Bitcoin to understand when Ethereum is a market leader and when it is. So this is ETH USD. And what I've been seeing and what I think is likely to happen, we are at rate cuts today. And you can tell that this Gunnar EMA band is about to make a bearish cross. So I think that Ethereum, along with Bitcoin, unfortunately, I think most likely direction for them, unless this is a fake out, is they're going down. Okay. That will be negative for FOFAR's price. I just have a feeling that rate cuts is going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Of course, it does depend on whether it's 25 basis points, 50 basis points. I don't think it's going to be any more than that. Most banks seem to think 25 basis points. JP Morgan seems to think about 50. We might already know the results of this by the time you're watching this video. I am, of course, recording it before rate cuts have happened, but rate cuts are happening in a matter of less than 9 hours from 8.5 hours from now. Okay. So I think this red zone down here for Ethereum could be a potential turning point, like around $1,300. Could we go lower? Of course we could. My base case though is that we probably put in a macro high or low relative to what was it, like $900 that we put in December of 2022. So I think we're going to see a higher low on that, and then I think we'll see a bounce out, and I think we'll start to see the emergence of Ethereum season in early 2025, maybe late 2024 at the earliest. But I would say probably 2025 is where it really takes over, because I think ETHUSD will pick up strength long before ETH Bitcoin does. Now, when ETHUSD picks up strength, let's say that ETH finally goes to challenge its previous all-time high and actually breaks it in quarter four or late quarter four, early quarter one of 2025, which I think is a likely outcome. That's going to be great for FOFAR. FOFAR is denominated in Ethereum, so as Ethereum becomes more valuable, so does FOFAR automatically. Okay, and so I think Ethereum can make it to close to $20,000 if everything goes well in 2025. That will be tremendous for FOFAR if that happens. Okay, and it does follow this general path that Ethereum has been kind of in for a little bit of a little while now. We look at ETH Bitcoin. Um, ETH Bitcoin doesn't look so good right now. We are in the red zone. I drew this like 3/4 of a year ago. We're in this red zone between 0.03 and 0.04 Bitcoin. I think we're in a bottoming process. I think this is going to take a little while. I think it's going to take most of quarter four to take place. Then I think after that, we're likely to see Ethereum resume a bullish uptrend against Bitcoin. So what that means is even if Bitcoin goes up, Ethereum is likely to underperform it. So if Ethereum underperforms Bitcoin, that is still good for it's still good for FOFAR, right? If Ethereum is going up in USD value, FOFAR goes up as well. But to really see the truly, truly explosive moves out of FOFAR, we want to see ETH Bitcoin doing this. We want to see it going up. We don't want to see it going down. So this just means we need to be kind of patient. So with all this in mind, let's go back to the FOFAR chart and kind of see what sort of path might we take in the coming months. Okay, so let's chart out a potential path for FOFAR over the next year or so. This is not to be taken super seriously, because if I knew the exact path FOFAR was going to take, then why would I even bother doing this video, right? I would just go get rich, like if anybody knew exactly what was going to happen, I mean, yeah, why would you even bother? So I think that FOFAR is probably going to test this red zone again, but I still think this red zone will hold, even if it does test it again. We could put in a lower low. That is possible. I wouldn't panic if it happened, because if Bitcoin drops like I think it's going to do, FOFAR is going to drop too. It just is. So let's just suppose this doesn't have to happen. Let's suppose that we get a drop to 0.0027 or something. I'm just making this number up. I think it's likely we're going to bounce out of that relatively quickly. And as the market sees its own buy volume kind of heading into October, I think we will see this finally start to turn around. Maybe we come back and test this one more time, get that inverse head and shoulders, and really start to see things take off in the other direction. Maybe as we head, and who knows, we might chop around at these higher levels. Maybe we test these levels as support or something. Like, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but I think there's a pretty good chance that by November we're back up here in this green zone and we're testing these levels. I think we'll get rejected potentially on our first try, and we might have some difficulty, get sent back down. This is not unusual, but I think once Ethereum starts to show some strength, I think that's when you're going to see FOFAR really start to take off. And so I'm kind of calling on somewhere around quarter one of 2025. That's more or less what I'm eyeballing for FOFAR to really take a bullish move. And if you're like, well, gosh, that's so long, Snake, like, why do we have to wait that long? I don't make the rules, folks. I'd love to see FOFAR get moving earlier, but I'm just being realistic. Let's look at PEPE as an example of how it could take a while to get going. Okay. Actually, I don't want to look at PEPE Rep ETH. We'll look at PEPE USD, since that is probably the most useful denomination for it. You can see PEPE is struggling right now a year later, but I want to show you what happened with PEPE when it first debuted, because the interesting thing about PEPE is it's very similar tokenomics to us, and they're also boys club narrative just like us. They debuted in April of 2023. We debuted our project in April of 2024, and you can see that PEPE got off to a really strong start just like FOFAR, and then it started to go into a bear market just like FOFAR. It broke underneath his trend line in a much worse way than FOFAR did. FOFAR has actually managed to not stay under it for very long when it did break. But look at this is September 17th, so or September 18th, right here. Um, doesn't look that different from FOFAR. FOFAR does look better, but it doesn't look like stunningly different. And notice how we came up only to come back down again in October, come up, get rejected by the trend line in November, again rejected by the trend line, again rejected by the trend line. Like this was just a very frustrating thing if you were holding Pepe. And then you came down yet again into February, and this asset truly looked hopeless at that point. But let me just encourage you not to give up hope. These were all higher lows, right? If we were to like draw a trend line, like these are higher lows. So that is cluing you in. Oh, you know what? This is starting to get more bullish. And then out of nowhere in February, look what happened. Pepe went on a bull run again. It took a while. Okay. So I think that you need to be patient when it comes to FOFAR and realize that it could take longer than you think for it to get going again. But that's not a bad thing. But look at when in September and October, how close to the bottom we were. This is why I said if we go down even more with FOFAR from where we are right now, I don't think we're going to go down that much further. Okay. It would just be a knee-jerk reaction maybe to Bitcoin going down to like 48K or something. FOFAR, of course, is not going to stay at the current price it's at unless something miraculous happens. So, however, if rate cuts end up being bullish right away for the market, which could happen, and we don't see any downward price action between now and like January, FOFAR will go up and it won't have to have that pullback. So it really just depends what the rest of the market does. And see, Pepe is not doing any better than us right now. In fact, Pepe looks just like us, just heading down, heading down. And it's trying to prove that this trend line is now support again, this trend line that increases over time. So I think you can look to Pepe for a pretty good idea of what we're probably in for FOFAR. Okay, the last risk indicator I wanted to show you is the beam, which measures overall risk of buying FOFAR at certain levels. So the way that this works is that anytime you're below this green line, an asset is considered to be severely undervalued, meaning that if you DCA at these levels and you believe in this project that it's going to do well next year, you're going to make the largest returns in these levels, okay? Largest long-term returns. When FOFAR is in this green zone between 0 and 0.2, that's also a value zone. This is generally a safe DCA zone, meaning that the odds of you losing money on your investment are pretty low. When you get between green and yellow, it becomes a little more risky, but generally speaking, you can still DCA in this level and make some decent returns. When you get above the yellow and start to get to the gray, that is generally a place where it is even more risky to buy. When you start to get above the orange, that is kind of starting and you get towards the red, which I think FOFAR probably will do. I'm going to go back and look at Pepe and compare in just a second. That is generally a profit taking zone because your asset is very likely to crash within a month, week, who knows? Just if you get up into this region, you probably want to look at taking some profits. Not financial advice, but this indicator is really good at tracking overall risk and it just kind of ebbs and flows. And if I go back to Pepe and we look at the same indicator with Pepe, you can see that Pepe did in fact make it into a profit zone, but it never got to the. I still think the best times for Pepe are yet to come. Okay. So, like, if you look at Pepe, it also, like us, had this undervaluation that started to curl back up, but it never really got going until February. And then look at that massive red. This is like, go ahead, take some profits, take some money off the table. Then we had a dip, and then we had a dead cat bounce of risk. And we had a dip, another dead cat bounce on risk. And I think Pepe, probably is going to cool off a little bit longer. There's no guarantee it comes into this deep value zone. I think it could. It certainly could. But you can see, I think FOFAR is in for something like this. And I think what's going to happen with Pepe and FOFAR is they're going to get up here sometime next year. Okay. So if you can just be patient and you can just hold on and wait, long enough to just DCA your FOFAR and get it at these value levels, whatever your strategy is. Okay, everybody has a different strategy. I think that you're in for some really nice price movement, mainly next year. I think some bullishness, some recovery could certainly happen in quarter 4, but I don't really anticipate that FOFAR is going to be making new all-time highs in quarter 4, at least in the beginning. It could happen towards the end, middle or end. That is certainly possible. I wouldn't rule it out. Okay, I think we could overcome the screen zone then. It's possible. It's not my base case, but it's possible. I think you just need time. There's no substitute for time. And let me tell you, our team has so many new developments coming out. Again, just look in the links in the description below, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's so much coming our way. FOFAR has a social gaming arcade, NFT, uh, an NFT marketplace to go along with that social gaming arcade, a layer two bacon token. There's just so many things coming out for this project. Additionally, I'm producing music albums for the project. So I already have one album out, and you can check that out on the FOFAR Twitter page. And I have a second album that should be coming out fairly soon with even more songs. So we're all working. There's art, there's videos, like animations that we have. There's video games coming, like so many things for this project. So I mean, the sky is the limit, and I think this project is going to do very, very well next year. And I think you're going to start to see price pick up in a more sustainable way, probably in October. Okay, could happen sooner than that. I would love for it to, but let's just get past rate cuts, and those are happening again in like just slightly over 8 hours from now. I'm very anxious about what I'm going to wake up to in the market. So that's all for tonight. If you're a current FOFAR holder, just stay strong. FOFAR Army, stay strong. I hold FOFAR. For full disclosure, I am also a member of the team. I'm their official analyst. So I produce videos like this. I do Twitter updates on technical analysis, and I'm sort of their unofficial music producer, I guess you could say. So, but no, what I mainly do is analysis, and I used to analyze it daily, but that became a little bit too much. So, a few times a week. And let me know if you are a FOFAR holder. Would you like to see me do more video content, or do you prefer the Twitter stuff? A little bit of both. Let me know in the comments down below, or let me know in the FOFAR Telegram, and come on over to my Snake Pit Telegram for more great analysis and content on other assets. Looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum. If you enjoyed kind of my like general market overview that I did here, um, and you like these longer form videos, definitely join me there. So follow me on Twitter as well. Hey, that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for being patient as a FOFAR holder. I know how frustrating it is to go through these periods of boring price action, but I assure you it's not going to last for very long. And I think our direction, if you were to like zoom out, is just mainly up. Price discovery, up. Okay. So think a little bit more than just day to day, think more like quarter to quarter. And it's like easy money. That's just kind of how I see it. Not financial advice. You should, of course, do your own research, but that's just how I see it. All right. Take care. Till next time.